The red storm sky burned red as the storm rolled over the jagged mountains. Lightning cracked sideways across the blood-colored clouds, and acid rain began to fall in slow, sizzling drops. Every creature on the planet known as vraka burrowed, deep beneath the rocks. Except one. Maya walked alone through the ash-filled valley, wrapped in a heat-resistant cloak made from her shuttle's emergency fabric. Her boots left prints in the scorched sand, each step sinking slightly into the soft, blackened dust. Above her, a warning blared from her cracked helmet. Oxygen levels low. Acid exposure increasing. SEEK shelter. She didn't flinch. Behind her, far in the distance, a group of aliens watched from a hovering scout craft. They belonged to the Tetran High Council, a powerful alliance of 5 galactic species. They had sent a human to Vraka to watch her fail, to study what broke first, the body or the mind. Why is she still alive? One of them whispered, its green eyes flickering with disbelief. Maya didn't know she was being watched. But even if she had, she wouldn't have cared. She hadn't come to Vraka to survive. She had come to find something she wasn't even sure existed. 2 days earlier, Maya had stood before the same council. Her dark eyes were calm, but behind them, she carried the weight of a lost Earth colony, the screams of a dying crew, and the last promise she had made to her brother. He had vanished on Vraka 4 years ago. The council said the planet took him, that no human could survive more than 3 hours there. But she had seen something in his final transmission, just one frame of video, a shape in the storm, a flicker of something. Alive, watching him. They called her mission a test of resilience, a psychological trial, a way to study how humans behaved in extreme conditions. Maya called it something else. Redemption. The wind on Vraka wasn't wind as most knew it. It howled like a dying animal and carried sharp grains of metal that sliced through soft fabric. The first hour burned her skin. The second hour made her tremble. The third hour, she stopped feeling the pain, but her memories kept her anchored. Her brother's laugh. The way he used to hum old Earth songs while fixing satellite panels. The night he handed her a tiny carved hawk and said, "You're stronger than you know. Maya, promise me you'll always keep flying." And now, in the middle of a world designed to kill everything that breathed, she kept walking. Beneath her boots, something shifted. The ground trembled for half a second, then went still. Maya crouched, placing a hand on the dark soil. Heat pulsed beneath it. Not just geothermal heat, something rhythmic. Something alive. She looked toward the mountains, where the storm was thickest, where her brother had last been seen. The aliens watching her began to panic. The leader, a pale blue Corellian with silken tendrils for arms, turned to the others. "Pull her out. This has gone too far. She's breached the inner zone." "We can't," another replied. "The data is incomplete. We need to see what triggers the change." "What change?" "The one that happened to her brother." They fell silent. None of them had admitted it openly, but the truth was clear now. He had survived. And the council had covered it up. But Maya. She was about to uncover the truth. Inside a narrow canyon, Maya found the remains of an old outpost. The door was half melted, its surface warped by the heat. Her hand hovered over the entrance. She hesitated. What if she found nothing? What if her brother really had died screaming, alone in this hell? But something inside her whispered, "Open it." So she did. The door creaked open with a groan, revealing darkness. Then a soft blue glow blinked from within. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. And on the floor, covered in dust, was a familiar object, a carved wooden hawk. Her brother's. Maya fell to her knees, and that's when she heard it. A voice. Not human. Not machine. Just one word. Maya. She looked up. And in the glow, a shape began. to form something alien something human something in between. Echoes of the impossible. Maya's breath caught in her throat. The voice had come from the shadows, calm, deliberate, and somehow familiar. The soft blue glow pulsed again, revealing more of the room. Shattered monitors, broken tools, and one chair turned slightly toward the wall, as if someone had just stood up moments ago, but the room had been abandoned for years. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she stepped closer to the source of the light. The carved wooden hawk trembled in her hand. It shouldn't have been here. It should have burned, broken, vanished like everything else. Then she saw the wall, scratched into it with something sharp. Were 3 simple lines. They lied, I changed. Don't trust the light. Maya's chest tightened. The handwriting was unmistakable, her brother's. Behind her, the voice whispered again, Maya. She spun around, her hand reaching for the makeshift blade strapped to her thigh. But there was no one there. Only the wind outside, only the hum of old machines, trying to breathe life into a dead world. From orbit, the council ship floated in silence. Inside, the alien observers stared at the feed from Maya's helmet. None of them spoke for several minutes. Then the youngest among them, a feathered Zerlik, leaned forward. Is this possible? We shut the project down, the lead Tetran replied coldly. The human subject wasn't supposed to survive long enough to evolve, but he did. The Tetran narrowed his many eyes, and now the sister is awakening something we buried. They all turned to the screen again. The feed crackled, then cleared. They watched Maya rise to her feet and place the wooden hawk in her bag. Her face was unreadable, strong, focused. Increase surveillance, the Tetran said, and prepare the secondary team. Maya stepped outside into the stinging air, but her mind was somewhere else. What had he meant by I changed? Had Vraka 9 done something to him? Or had he found something that changed him on a level deeper than cells and skin? She remembered the stories, the ones whispered in deep space bars. Rumors that vraka 9 wasn't just dangerous, it was intelligent. Some said the planet had a consciousness buried in its molten core. Others believed the storms themselves were alive. No one had proof. But as Maya crossed the jagged rocks and the blue glow faded behind her, she felt something strange, a pressure in her mind, like a thought that didn't belong to her. Not words, just a pull. A direction. And so she followed it. Hours passed. The storm above her never broke. Ash fell in gray waves, but Maya pressed forward. Her suit was torn now, and parts of her skin burned raw from exposure. But she didn't stop. Something had changed. The fear was still there, but deeper now was something else. Not hope. Not yet. Faith. A kind of uncheckable belief that her brother was still here. Maybe not the same, maybe not fully human anymore, but alive. Suddenly, the ground dropped. Maya stumbled forward and found herself at the edge of a massive crater. It stretched wider than a city, with sharp stone teeth lining its rim. But inside green. Real green. Trees, vines, thick jungle mist curled upward, fed by streams that glowed faintly in the darkness. This isn't possible, she whispered. No. Planet with vraka 9's atmosphere should have this. Not naturally, not without something or someone protecting it. A faint humming began behind her. She turned fast, blade ready, but instead of a threat, she saw lights. 7 small drones hovering just above the ridge. Council drones. Watching her. They're still studying me, she said under her breath. They're not here to help. For a moment, she considered destroying them, but that would blow her cover. They didn't yet know she had found the crater. They didn't know what she'd heard, who she might become. So she turned her back on them and walked down into the green. The jungle was warm. Too warm. The air was thick with scent, spices, flowers, moisture, and something metallic. The moment. Her boots touched the mossy floor, the atmosphere shifted. Her sensors blinked red, then shut off completely. She was alone now. No readings. No maps. Only instinct, and the voice that had spoken her name, Maya. It called again, this time. Softer, more distant. Like it came from the trees themselves. She followed it, not blindly, but willingly, because some part of her already knew the truth. Vraka 9 wasn't trying to kill her. Not anymore. It was testing her. Just like it had tested him. Deep in the jungle, she came to a strange clearing. The trees arched in a circle, there, leaves glittering with energy. And in the center, standing still as stone, was a tall figure. A man. No helmet. No oxygen mask. No protection at all. His skin glowed faintly beneath the surface, as if something inside him was alive. And in his hand, another wooden hawk. Maya took a breath that shook her whole body. Kale. She whispered. His eyes opened slowly, and he smiled. You came. Not the Samaya stared at him like she was seeing a ghost. Her brother Kale stood in the center of the glowing clearing, surrounded by trees that shimmered with light. He looked stronger, older, not in age but in presence. His eyes held something deep, something she couldn't explain. He looked human. But not fully. You're alive, she said, her voice barely more than a breath. He smiled gently. I hoped you would come. Maya took a step forward, but stopped. She looked at the veins on his arms, glowing faintly blue, like soft electricity moved beneath his skin. Her heart pounded with fear and relief all tangled together. What happened to you? She asked. He looked down at the wooden hawk in his hand. Vraka changed me, but not like they think. Not like the council feared. His voice was calm, but filled with emotion. They sent me here to study what humans couldn't survive. They didn't expect me to understand the planet. They didn't expect the planet to understand me. Maya's eyes narrowed. Understand you? Kale, this place is a graveyard. It kills everything. Not everything, he interrupted softly. Only those who fight it, those who try to conquer it. But humans, we feel things. We endure. We remember. And this planet, it listens. High above, aboard the council's ship, alarms blared. The drones had lost all signal the moment Maya entered the crater. Every image froze. Every sensor went dark. Impossible, the Tetran commander hissed. We mapped that zone. It was toxic. Dead. This can't be a natural change. It isn't, the Zerlik technician muttered. The human anomaly. It altered something. Or connected with something. What kind of connection? The Zerlik looked up, feathers shivering. Biological, emotional, maybe even spiritual. The planet, it's responding to them. Then end the test, another voice growled, before others learn what vraka truly is. But it was already too late. Maya sat beside Kale beneath a tree that seemed to glow from its core. Leaves drifted gently through the misty air. Her breathing slowed for the first time in days. So you've been here all this time? She asked. Yes, learning, listening, surviving in ways no scanner could ever understand. You could have come back. Kale looked down. I couldn't, not after what I saw. Not after what Vraka showed me. It would have put the entire human race in danger. Maya frowned. Danger? From who? He met her eyes. From the council? They don't want humans to bond with this world. They fear what happens when we stop breaking things and start becoming part of them. But why? She asked. Because, for the first time, they saw something in us they couldn't measure: hope, grief, memory, and Vraka responds to those things. It changes for us. It becomes something else. Maya touched the tree beside her. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. For a moment, she remembered the night before Kale's mission, when their mother had told them stories of old earth forests that whispered in the wind. And now, here she was in a forest that truly whispered, but the peace didn't last. A deep, vibrating sound filled the air. Cale stood quickly, his face tense. "They're coming," he said. "Who?" "The secondary team, Council Enforcers." Maya stood too. "They found us? They've always known where to find us. But until now, they didn't think it mattered. What do we do?" Cale stepped closer, placing a hand on the glowing bark of the tree. "This world chose us, Maya. It knows we're not like the others. We don't want to destroy. We want to belong. If we trust it, it will protect us." "You're asking me to trust a planet," she said, eyes wide. "I'm asking you to trust yourself," he replied. "Because this place, it responds to what's inside you." Maya looked around at the trees. They seemed to lean closer. The light around her warmed, and she nodded. Hours later, the enforcers landed. They wore heavy armor, suits designed for war zones. Tall, towering beings genetically enhanced to dominate. Their weapons buzzed with heat. They expected fire. They expected chaos. But what they saw was beauty. Green stretched across the crater like a living miracle. And not just that, flowers bloomed at their feet. Strange glowing butterflies fluttered through the air. And in the distance, a figure walked toward them. Maya alone. The commander raised a weapon. "Stop right there, hands above your head." She did not raise her hands. Instead, she said one thing: "This world is watching." The ground beneath the soldiers shifted. Vines slithered through the cracks. The trees behind Maya seemed to pulse brighter. "You won't survive this," the commander warned. "You're right," Maya said quietly. "You won't." And then vraka awakened. Roots burst from the ground, wrapping around the enforcers. Legs, their weapons jammed, armor cracked. Mist poured from the trees, clouding their sensors. Confusion turned to panic. The jungle was no longer silent. It was roaring. The commander shouted into his comms, "Retreat, fall back to orbit." This is not a natural event, but it was too late, because vraka had made its choice, and it chose them. Maya and Cale stood at the edge of the battle. Neither raised a weapon. They didn't have to. The planet itself fought for them now. "They'll send more," Maya said. Softly. "Let them," Cale replied. "We're not running anymore." And for the first time, Maya smiled, not because the danger had passed, but because she finally understood. Weren't just surviving vraka. They were becoming part of it. "We are not." Alaneath Forest calmed. The last echo of gunfire faded into the wind, swallowed by the trees. Mist settled once more over the glowing ground as the planet breathed in peace. Vines loosened their grip on the broken enforcer armor, dragging it slowly into the soil. The jungle reclaimed everything. Maya stood in silence, her face lit by the soft glow of the canopy above. Cale stood beside her, arms crossed, eyes still locked on the place where the enforcers had vanished. "They'll report this," she said quietly. "They won't have time," Cale replied. Maya looked at him, unsure what he meant. "You really think vraka will stop all of them?" Cale didn't answer right away. Instead, he knelt beside one of the vines and placed his hand on it. It glowed faintly beneath his touch. "Vraka doesn't destroy unless it must," he said. "It remembers everything. It sees every pain, every lie, and it chooses." "So why did it choose us?" Maya asked. "Why not kill you when you first arrived? Why not reject me?" Cale looked up at her, his voice soft and firm. "Because we listened. We didn't come to conquer. We came with pain. We came with love." Far above, the council vessel shook with silence. The feed had returned for only a moment, just long enough for the high elders to witness the trees moving, the planet responding, and the enforcers being dismantled without a single human hand raised in violence. The Tetran leader's many eyes blinked slowly as the silence deepened. So the human bond is real. One whispered. Another elder leaned forward. Worse, it is contagious. What if others seek it? What if vraka opens itself to more? Then we'll lose control, the Zerlik said flatly. They won't meet us anymore. And that was the real fear. Not death. Not war. But irrelevance. Maya and Kale climbed higher into the forest, guided by something neither of them could explain. They spoke little. The jungle whispered around them. Strange creatures peeked from the trees, some with eyes like mirrors, others with translucent skin that shimmered like water. None of them attacked. Instead, they watched. Maya noticed at first how the animals moved only after she did, how the vines leaned toward her thoughts. It wasn't just Kale the planet had chosen. It had chosen her too. Finally, they reached a small clearing at the edge of a cliff. Below them stretched the entire green crater, a glowing miracle in a dead world. And far beyond it, wastelands, black deserts, storms that still raged without mercy. Maya sat down on a large stone. What now? She asked. Kale joined her, quiet for a moment. There's a deeper place, he said. Vraka has layers, not just physical, but spiritual, emotional, memory buried in stone. Echoes of everything that's ever lived here. You've seen it? Only glimpses. But there's something waiting down there. Something ancient. It knew you were coming. Maya blinked. Me? He nodded. Double quotes. I don't know why yet. But it wants you to see it. That night, Maya dreamed. She was underwater, but not drowning. Light shimmered above her, and shadows moved below. Then a voice spoke not words, but emotions. Deep sorrow, old hope, a wound that had never healed. And then something beautiful, a vision of vraka, not broken, not burning, but whole. Forests stretching across the sky. Rivers singing through the land. A world that remembered joy. When she awoke, her hands were glowing, the same soft blue that pulsed in Kale's skin. He stood over her, eyes wide. You saw it, he whispered. Maya nodded. What does it want? She looked toward the jungle, heart pounding, to be healed. The next morning, they began the descent. Kale led the way through tight passages where stone glowed like embers. The air grew heavy, thick with energy. Maya felt it in her chest. Not pain, but weight. Memory. The walls began to change. Carving strange symbols, not human, not from any known species, but she understood them. Not with her mind, but with her heart. Each symbol was a feeling. Love, grief, betrayal, forgiveness. They were stories written in silence, told through time. And then they reached it. A chamber. Round, vast, with a pool of glowing water at its center. It didn't ripple. It didn't steam. It simply waited. Kale stepped back. This is where it happened, he said. Maya stepped closer, her boots barely making a sound. What is this place? A memory core, Kale whispered. Not technology, not magic, something else. Something vraka built to hold the truth. Maya stared at her reflection in the glowing water. And then, without knowing why, she stepped into it. Light swallowed her. She felt every part of herself dissolve, not into pain, but into story. She became her childhood, her brother's laughter, her parents' final embrace. The cold silence of space. She became vraka, its first breath, its first wound, its fear of destruction, its loneliness. Then she saw flashes, ships crashing into its surface, weapons slicing its soil, beings tearing at its core, trying to steal something they didn't understand. And finally, the moment it changed, when Kale arrived, when he grieved. When he didn't ask to take, but simply sat and listened. Maya fell deeper, and vraka spoke. Not with words. But with all of itself. You remember. You carry pain, but you do not let it poison you. You carry love, but do not keep it to yourself. You are what we were waiting for. Maya opened her eyes. She was still standing in the pool, but she was not the same. Her hand still glowed. But now so did her chest, her skin, her mind. Kale stepped forward, his face in awe. It chose you. Maya nodded, tears in her eyes. Not just me, she said softly. All of us, if we let it. And behind her, the jungle pulsed in agreement. The gift of remembering glow from Maya's skin dimmed as she stepped out of the pool, but the warmth remained inside her, steady, quiet, alive. The chamber no longer felt strange or alien. It felt like standing inside a heartbeat. Every stone seemed to breathe. Every echo in the walls carried feeling, not just sound. Kale stepped toward her slowly, his eyes filled with something between wonder and worry. Are you still you? He asked. Maya looked down at her hands. The faint blue shimmer had faded, but something deeper had taken root. She could feel it in her breath, in her blood. A part of vraka now lived in her, not as a parasite, but as a memory shared. She looked back at him and said gently, I'm more me than I've ever been. He exhaled, relieved. Doubled. Good. Then we're not lost. Maya shook her head. No, we're found. But the galaxy isn't ready for this. Not yet. Which is why we have to protect it, Kale said. But even as he spoke, the chamber trembled. The water rippled for the first time. The light above them flickered. Something was coming. Above Vraka, the Council's warship cast a massive shadow over the storming skies. It was no longer a mission of science. It was an operation. Destroy the anomaly. Erase the evidence. Reset the story. The Council couldn't allow word of a sentient planet, one that healed, remembered, and chose to spread. It threatened everything they built, and more dangerous than Vraka itself. Where the humans it had accepted. In the war room of the ship, the Tetran commander issued orders. Launch the eraser drones. Target the green zone. Burn everything. Younger officer hesitated. What about the humans? The commander didn't blink. Collateral. They made their choice. In the jungle, Maya and Kale felt it before they saw it. The sky changed color. Not from Vraka's storms, but from fire. Lines of red light streaked downward like angry stars. The forest shuddered. Trees bent. The animals screamed. Maya looked up. They're trying to wipe it clean. Kale clenched his fists. We have to stop them. But how? They had no weapons, no shields. Nothing but themselves and the planet beneath their feet. Maya knelt and pressed both hands to the mossy ground. Vraka, she whispered. They're coming. They want to erase everything you gave us. We don't want more. We just want peace, to remember, to heal. The wind stopped. The forest listened. Then slowly the trees began to move. Roots twisted, growing taller. Branches reached toward the sky. Massive flower-like shapes opened, revealing strange glowing cores. From beneath the jungle floor, old machines made from stone and living tissue rose upward. Guardians of an ancient world. Vraka was not defenseless, and it was awake. As the drones descended, they passed through thick layers of red mist intended to blind, confuse, choke. But the mist did not behave like on other planets. It circled around them, slowed them, pulled at their sensors. Then, without warning, the first drone imploded, not from impact. From silence, its systems were overwhelmed with signals that didn't belong to any species. Messages of grief, of love, of voices long gone but never forgotten. The drones were not built to feel, but Vraka made them feel. And they broke. One by one. Back in the jungle, Kale and Maya climbed a high ridge overlooking the green zone. The trees below them shimmered, not With fear, but with purpose. Maya turned to Kale. This isn't just about saving Vraka. This is about reminding the galaxy what we lost. What we forgot, Kale nodded. We forgot how to listen, how to feel, how to let places shape us instead of trying to shape them. Maya looked at the sky. She could feel the council ship watching. So she spoke, not with anger. But with truth. We are not your tools. We are not your test subjects. We are not broken. She stepped forward, voice rising. We are the memory you tried to bury. We are the hope you left behind. And this world, this living world, hurt us. On the ship, every screen went black. Then, one by one, they turned back on, not with data, but with faces, faces of humans long thought dead on Vraka. Survivors the council claimed were lost. Recordings hidden, voices erased, but Vraka had kept them. And now, it showed them. The bridge filled with light and sound sobs, laughter, messages of love, voices calling out not to be forgotten. The officers froze. Even the Tetran commander went silent, because the one voice speaking now was his own brother, lost 20 years ago, and Vraka had remembered him. Back on the ridge, Maya reached out her hand. The planet responded. Flowers bloomed instantly around her feet. Birds circled overhead, glowing with strange, beautiful light. You see it now, she said. You tried to kill this place. But Vraka doesn't just survive, it remembers. A deep tremor passed through the earth. A signal, and then across the galaxy other systems began to blink with unreadable signals. Quiet, hidden worlds. Forgotten planets. Places scarred by war and abandonment. They began to wake up, because Vraka had called them, and the memory was spreading. Maya looked at Kale. We're not just protecting a planet anymore. Kale's voice was steady. We're starting a movement. What should we call it? Maya asked. He smiled gently. The remembering. And below them, the forest pulsed with light. Alive. Listening. Ready. The remembering began. Sky above Vraka shimmered with light not seen in 1,000 years. Drones fell like ashes. Not burned, not broken, but gently lowered to the forest floor by unseen forces. Their metal cores hummed with ancient signals. Empathy, grief, joy, emotions they were never meant to feel. Emotions Vraka had given them anyway. On the ground, the trees bent low as if bowing. Roots twisted to cradle what fell, not to bury, but to heal. The jungle didn't kill. It transformed. Maya and Kale stood on the ridge, hands clasped tightly. Eyes lifted toward the ship that still hovered in silence. They're not attacking anymore, Kale said. Maya nodded. Because Vraka showed them something they weren't ready to see. Aboard the council ship, the bridge had turned into a shrine of memory. Faces still played on every screen, human voices, once lost to the void, now echoing across circuitry and steel. Some officers wept openly. Others fell silent, hearts split between duty and awakening. The Tetran commander stared blankly at the recording of his brother. A voice he hadn't heard in decades now said the words that had haunted his dreams. They don't want to fight. They just want to be remembered. He turned to the rest of the crew, his voice quiet and cracked. We were wrong. The others didn't respond with words. They didn't need to. They simply stood down. For the first time, no order was given. Deep beneath Vraka's surface, in the glowing chamber where Maya had first touched the memory pool, something new stirred. A pulse, not of warning, but of invitation. Maya felt it immediately. Not through her skin, but deep in her chest. Vraka wasn't finished. It wanted more than protection. It wanted connection. We have to go back, she told Kale. To the chamber? She shook her head. Deeper. They followed the pulsing light. Through narrow stone passages, past living walls that breathed with color. As they moved, Maya could feel the thoughts of the planet, not in words but in feelings. Fear, hope, waiting. So much waiting. At last, they entered a vast underground chamber so wide it echoed forever. The ceiling was a dome of glowing crystal. In the center stood a giant tree taller than any city tower, its roots sunk into the living rock, its leaves glowing with memory. "This is the heart," Kale whispered. Maya stepped forward, drawn to the base of the tree. A soft voice, gentle and ancient, welcomed her not with sound, but with warmth. Vraka had been alone for so long. Too long. And now, through her, it would speak to the stars again. Outside, across the galaxy, subtle changes began. Small, uninhabited planets pulsed with strange energy. Seed worlds once dismissed as lifeless began to sprout forests overnight. Council records glitched. Forgotten exploration logs reappeared. Coordinates led to places marked extinct or erased. Maya and Kale stood beneath the great tree as its roots lit up, carrying their heartbeat outward. They weren't just saving Vraka. They were waking up every world like it. And suddenly, a voice answered. Not from Vraka. But from another planet light years away. "We remember." Above, the council ship prepared to leave. Not in fear, not in shame. But in silence. They had nothing more to say. Their weapons were useless, their orders irrelevant. The crew stared down at the green crater, at the two humans standing in light, and knew they were witnessing something greater than power. They were witnessing the return of something sacred. Truth. Feeling. Connection. Maya looked up at the tree and whispered, "What do we do now?" The answer came gently, like a breeze across old leaves. Share it. Kale stepped beside her. "We're not alone anymore," he said. Maya turned to him. "We never were." Weeks passed. Word spread through hidden channels. Outlaw broadcasters picked up strange signals from Vraka. Ships that disappeared years ago suddenly reappeared, peaceful, quiet, changed. They spoke of planets that healed, of memories shared between worlds. Maya's voice became legend, a leader without a title, a guide without a throne. But she didn't seek fame. She traveled planet to planet with Kale by her side, not to conquer, not to command. But to listen. And everywhere she went, Vraka's light followed, flowers blooming in footsteps. Soil remembering, names long forgotten. The remembering had begun, and it could not be stopped. Some called her the mother of memory, some called her the voice of the forgotten, but Maya never called herself anything at all. She simply knelt when she landed on a new world, pressed her hand to the earth, and whispered, "I remember." And every time, the world whispered back. The seed of forever stars above Vraka no longer looked cold. Maya sat quietly beneath the ancient tree at the heart of the planet, her eyes closed, one hand resting on the glowing roots. It had been 3 cycles since the remembering began. 3 cycles since Vraka stopped being just a world and became a voice the galaxy could hear again. Above her, the canopy hummed softly. Each leaf held echoes of lives past, songs once forgotten, memories restored. Across the galaxy, other worlds had started to awaken, not because of war, not because of power. But because of story, because of Maya. Because someone had finally listened. Signal came through the root-net. Not a message. An invitation. Maya opened her eyes. It wasn't Vraka calling this time. It was another world. One older. Quieter. Wounded beyond measure. A place known only in whispers, among scavengers and smugglers. Dythr. A dead moon, they had said, lifeless since before the council, was born, poisoned by war, stripped for fuel, left hollow and cold. And yet now, it was calling out. Maya stood slowly. Kale, seated beside her, looked up. "You felt it too," he said. She nodded. "Dithra is waking. Then we go." They packed nothing. They needed nothing. The ship that Vraka had grown for them was already waiting, its body part metal, part living root. It hummed softly as they entered, responding to their thoughts. Their memories. The ship rose into the sky like a bird returning to flight. Vraka pulsed beneath them one last time. Not goodbye. Just a whisper. Go. Tell the others. They reached Dithra 3 days later. The surface was cracked and silent. No atmosphere, no color. Only dry bones of a once living world. Council records said Dithra had been stripped bare, its core mined until the planet collapsed on itself. Maya stood on the surface in a sealed cloak of woven vraka fibers. She bent down and touched the gray soil. It was cold. But not empty. Inside the cracks, dusty roots. Vraka had sent seeds long ago, hidden, waiting. Maya closed her eyes and placed both hands on the ground. We remember you, she whispered. You are not forgotten. The soil trembled. And far below, something stirred. Kale stood beside the ship, watching the surface shift. Small green shoots burst through the cracks. Vines climbed the ruined spires of ancient machines. Faint lights blinked on beneath layers of dust. And then, a low hum. The voice of Dythra. Tired. Scarred. But awake. Maya fell to her knees, overwhelmed by emotion. Dithra's memories poured into her, the screams of the last trees, the silence of dying oceans, the loneliness of waiting in the dark, and then hope. The smallest flicker. Someone had come back. They spent a week there, not restoring, not rebuilding. Just remembering. Each night, Maya and Kale sat beside the growing heart of Dithra. They sang old earth songs. They whispered names of lost ones. They told the story of Vraka, of the storm, of the tree, of the pool of memory. The planet listened. And healed. The sky turned from gray to deep purple. New air slowly returned. Birds never seen in this system before circled above. Life had returned. Not by force. But by memory. By the 10th day. The signal spread. Not through technology. But through the roots. Planets once thought barren lit up in ancient star maps. Systems marked as dead blinked to life. Languages lost for centuries returned in dream. Songs. Maya and Kale traveled from world to world. Sometimes alone. Sometimes followed by ships full of those who had felt the remembering. Scientists. Farmers. Children. War veterans with silent hearts. They didn't bring weapons. They brought seeds. On the 100th day of the remembering, Maya returned to Earth. She found it changed, not by destruction, but by disconnection. Glass towers, quiet people, stories locked inside machines. But the soil still remembered. She walked through an abandoned garden in the old district. No one had touched it in years. Maya knelt. Pressed her hand to the ground. And whispered, I remember. The vines rose that night. And the city awoke. Not with noise, but with feeling. Decades passed. Maya grew older. Her face lined not by time, but by memory. Kale remained at her side. Their bond unshakable. The galaxy no longer needed council rule. It had grown beyond control. Not through war. But through connection. A network of remembering now pulsed beneath the stars, a root system of empathy, of stories of truth. Planets healed. People healed. And Vraka's whisper lived in all of them. On the last day of her journey, Maya sat beneath a tree on a world without name. She closed her eyes. Her hands rested in the soil, and she smiled. For across the stars, on thousands of worlds, people were kneeling. Hands in soil. Hearts open, whispering the same words. I remember. Because of her. Because of Vraka. Because pain, when remembered with kindness, becomes life.